Okay, we've just been at the home, which was manic, and then we've come into our hotel, which is the Avania Carlac, and it is stunning. Thankfully, I booked an extra night to stay here because it is absolutely gorgeous. And although we've got to go back to the home tonight for dinner, we won't be able to check out any of the facilities, mainly because whilst we were driving back in the bus, the skies opened up. And so we've had 5 days of gorgeous weather. And now it's typhoonal. There's the swimming pool that I'm looking forward to enjoying tomorrow. And I don't know whether that's actually a lagoon. It must be. It's got water fountains. But there's a lot of rain coming down. And there's the reception over there. And I really felt for the kids in the bus because I was sitting on the outside. But it's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I must say, I'm pretty bloody proud of myself. 500 or so kilometres. Going to raise close to 7,500. I'm going to sit down. And got through uninjured. And the last 20 Ks, I had a lot of energy. There were times where I hiked it, particularly some of the lighter hills. But on the flats, I was really trying to sprint it out. And that 20 Ks was into the temple. We then had the opportunity to listen to Peter Baines talk about when he arrived back into, I'm going to turn this off for a second. I wanted to see if I could turn this around. There are some people down in the pool down there. A bit crazy. But Peter spoke a little bit about some of the stories of parents coming. And there was a lady at the home today that was serving us. She lost 3 of her children and her husband in the tsunami 20 years ago. And now she's working at the home, which is pretty special. But there were stories of people coming along and searching. There was a mother who searched for 2 days. There were 3,500 bodies just left at the temple because it's in Thai tradition when someone passes, they go to the temple for a funeral and potentially a cremation. And so the bodies were just being delivered, truck after truck after truck of people already decomposing. And as Peter said, 2 things that impact a body after death is heat and water. And all of the bodies had been in water for some time, and then the heat started. So the decomposition was starting really quickly. So they had to take as part of their autopsies, they had to take a piece of the femur. They took a 3 centimetre piece of the femur for some DNA. They took dental records, hair samples, and if possible, fingerprints. Then what they did was they tried to work back and find the family and relatives so they could actually identify the bodies. They were successful in being able to identify 5,500 bodies, which, according to Peter, is the largest mass identification program ever on record in the world, where they're able to successfully identify 5,500 people. But there is a grave, a cemetery which we did pass, where there are 400 to this day, 20 years later, 400 unidentified, unmarked graves that are there that have never been identified, and after 20 years the probability of them ever being identified. What a sad situation that is. There were many bodies never found. There was over 250,000 people who died in that tsunami. And so here we are sitting here at the end of the day 5, the ride. I've just walked into the hotel. I'm feeling very tight. I'm feeling all sorts of emotions, a bit of bittersweet. Spent some time with my little fella that I've been riding with. He was cute, little 10-year-old Pice. He was showing me his room. I got a can of Coke at lunch. I was offered a soft drink, and so I asked the staff, could he have one as well? It didn't appear that anyone else had one, and they didn't want to say no, so they said yes. And he carried that can of soft drink around. I was there for an hour and a half. He carried the can of soft drink around. I don't know how much soft drink these kids would get. Certainly wouldn't be getting cans whenever they want it. Not like back home. And now we're going to go back, we'll get ready, have showers, we'll go back this afternoon and have a dinner. But I just wanted to close off the week with a sort of final. The room is stunning. It's bucketing down with rain. We've had an amazing day of riding, so it's just under 60 kilometres, and some poignant words from Peter Baines about what he experienced for the time that he was here. And he was sharing with us the stories of some of the parents that would come, particularly parents that come from regional areas that were able to find their children but never had coffins. And so the Australian government, I think, or whoever Peter was working with at the time, they started to provide some coffins, because people would just come with a pickup truck to collect their loved ones, and there was no other way of giving them the bodies once they were identified, except for in a body bag. There was 100 refrigerated shipping containers that were brought in and were sitting at the bottom of the temple, and that's where the bodies were. And Peter said, you just never know when you walk into those shipping containers what you're going to get when you open up the bag. And sometimes they were little children, and when you could feel the bag. So when they were brought out for the autopsies, they were brought out on a trolley, but he said that part of his team, what they decided to do was for all of the children, they wouldn't put them on a trolley, they carried them as a sign of respect. Amazing test of life, I guess, to listen to a scenario that, and as he kept saying, he would do 4 or 5 autopsies a day, and some were on children. Doing 4 or 5 autopsies a day on children. Did many more autopsies, but he said when he was opening up the bags and there were children in there, he just didn't want to be there. But what was his choice? There wasn't anyone else that was going to be able to identify these bodies and give them back to the families. One of the things he talked about was the hardest thing to do was to deal with the families of the deceased. But he also then shared the most rewarding and fulfilling thing to do was to deal with the families of the deceased. So I'm going to wrap up the video now. For everyone that's actually contributed to the post, for everyone that's got this far and watched this video, I commend you, because for many it'll just be watching rain and they would have tuned out. This has probably been the most powerful of the videos that I've taken, and I've deliberately not had it about me or anyone else. I've just shown you the rain and the scenery. But watching the watching the aftermath 20 years later. There were little baby cots in there today, row after row after row. There were beds, bunk, beds all in a row. There's no air conditioning in those rooms. The kids have just got ceiling fans or blower fans. Very hot. But I'll tell you one thing that I did pick up today. Kids were happy. And many of those children, had it not been for the home, I've got to get that right, but had it not been for the Hands Across the Water home, many of those children would have had very, very, very different outcomes. We had the pleasure of having two of the boys that are from the home, two 16-year-olds, ride with us for the last week, and they were great kids. And to watch what the home is being able to produce, educate, shape those two young boys is a credit to Hands Across the Water. So once again, for everyone that's actually got this far, for everyone that's contributed, for everyone that's chipped in, put some money in, I want a deep, heartfelt thank you. It's enabled me to reach that target, to get over here. This is certainly not my last ride, and I'm going to start to do whatever I can. It's certainly changed me. Do whatever I can to try and help these kids over here, because when you have a look at them, they've done nothing wrong. It's purely by circumstance. They were born into this world, and the world has dealt them a very, very ordinary deck of cards. And if you can contribute, I think now we in Australia are a very lucky country, and we're always complaining about not having the latest car, not having the latest bigger screen TV, or going on more and more holidays, not having the latest designer clothes. What I'm going to do now is to make sure that I spend a fair bit more of my time dedicated to try and helping these kids. It's Michael Furlong wrapping up the videos. There'll be a couple of others as well, but wrapping up the videos after day 5. As I said, bittersweet. Really, really excited that I got through. Really excited that we raised a lot of money, but bittersweet that we've got to meet the kids and have a look at their circumstances. In a couple of days' time, I jump on a plane and I get back to my life. These kids are still going to be in the home. So, yeah, food for thought. Thanks, guys.